Welcome to Potato Shop Podcast. I'm Brian.
I'm Iron Dutch Murdoch.
And we're going to be talking about a little bit about boxing, professional wrestling, and mixed martial arts. So I guess really the big thing that happened last night was Deontay Wilder beat Ortiz and in the 7th round with a big one-punch knockout. So that's going to be setting up the Tyson Fury Wilder rematch. And I believe that's scheduled for February.
Possibly. I haven't seen anything yet on the date myself. However, one thing I find interesting about the Deontay Wilder fight there from last night, both guys found themselves in positions where they, because Tyson Fury with the cut over his eye, that could have easily been stopped and could have thrown a monkey wrench in the rematch. And then, Deontay Wilder, had this fight gone to the cards, more than likely it would have went Ortiz. And so both guys just kind of really inched past their competitors to find themselves back here at the rematch. Now, with the rematch, I think, in my opinion, I think you're going to see... I think you're going to see more of the same like we were getting in the first. I think it's going to be a really good fight. I think, though, that Deontay Wilder's knockout power and his ability to just throw bombs the way he does, I think obviously that's the big threat for Tyson Fury. But Fury really has to do a good job of not getting hit, and he was doing good up until the later rounds in the first fight, but because when Deontay Wilder puts leather against you, buddy, he drops you.
Right, and Fury got dropped twice, didn't he? He got, I can't remember the first time, but I remember the second time was the final round,
right,
which was a phenomenal round, probably the best round ever in boxing. I'm just hoping they can live up to such a great event. Once again, like I've said in the past, here you've got two guys, and both of them have these really great stories. If one is facing with his daughter, with Deontay Wilder, and getting into boxing at the age of 23, becoming a bronze medalist in the Olympics, now an undefeated heavyweight. You've got Tyson Fury, he wins the championship, has his issues with depression, comes back and is on the road to redemption. I mean, both of them have this really good story, and that's what I think so exciting about. And I really don't care who wins. I would pull for Deontay Wilder if I had to choose someone, just because he's from Alabama, and that's being really silly. But I mean, that'd be the only thing that I could. Well, I guess I'll pull for him. But either way, it don't matter. Another thing that came out this week was Chuck Liddell said that he could take Mike Tyson
in a street fight.
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I disagree strongly. I understand Tyson's gotten older, but I can tell you right now, Chuck does not have the chin to take a Mike Tyson punch. I don't care if it's a street fight or an MMA fight. Chuck's ability to take a punch is gone.
I don't even think Chuck could have beat Mike Tyson in a street fight in
their heyday.
In their heyday, even with, I know mixed martial arts is a different game. You take down kicks and things of that nature.
Let's not kid ourselves. Chuck would have absolutely fought a stand-up game with him.
Yes. Yeah. And Mike Tyson is so, and even now, a 50-year-old Mike Tyson is phenomenal, and he is very fast, and he's definitely not in the shape that he used to be.
That's true.
And I just found it funny that Chuck Liddell would even make a comment about that, especially, and it's sad that he had to fight Tito Ortiz and face plant the mat. Because that's what everyone thinks about Chuck Liddell. You don't think about the Chuck Liddell who had pinpoint accuracy. You don't even think about the Chuck Liddell who was doing very good against Rashad Evans and before he got caught. or Rich Franklin or whoever. You think of the old shuffling his feet Chuck Liddell and with Tito Ortiz. And that sucks. And so when I hear a comment like, hey, I can beat Mike Tyson, no, you can't.
That's just a ridiculous comment to even make.
Right.
So I don't even know why he would put that out there.
And I guess the final thing, we got December 7th is Ruiz and Joshua 2. It's happening. The Zone. I'm going to be getting it. I'm really looking forward to it. Who do you got for that one? Do you think it's going to go the same route?
I think it goes exactly the way it did in the first fight.
I think so.
I think Anthony Joshua will challenge for the title and will come up short.
Right. I'm kind of in agreement with you. Joshua's such a good boxer, but what Ruiz looked like. But from what I've been hearing, I was listening to a radio show on Sirius XM, and they were talking about him having the Buster Douglas effect of he's went out, he's been buying a lot of cars, he's buying people houses and different things. So just like Buster Douglas.
So the money's spent.
It's possible. He's having a good time, but he's looking like he's working out. He's wanting to make sure.
I was going to say, unlike Buster Douglas, though, man, I think he's been taking this rematch a lot more serious than Buster Douglas took Evander Holyfield.
Right. And I would love to see. I think.
But I also would say this. I think even if Buster Douglas, I still Holyfield beat Buster Douglas every time.
Right.
Unless there was just some way Buster Douglas caught a fluke punch on him, Holyfield was just a very complete boxer.
Right.
So I would almost argue that even in his heyday, had say Mike Tyson would have made it past Buster Douglas, that fight wouldn't have ended the way it did. And the next fight he went to was Evander Holyfield. I don't know that Mike Tyson beats Holyfield, even then, because Mike Tyson. There was a lot of stigma around him. A lot of what made him so unconquerable was people were afraid of him, but Holyfield wasn't.
Right. I think that's a strange thing when you can get a fighter who's so scared, who people are scared of just the fighter, and it's almost like you're not.
The mystique.
The mystique. That's what they're scared of. Because if you look at Mike Tyson, if you look at Chris Cyborg, Fedor, these are just three folks who had mystiques around them, and people would go in there already defeated.
Right.
And it's amazing that you'll see that, because as soon as they got defeated, people started fighting Tyson different. People fought Fedor different.
I don't think, though, anybody has ever been feared genuinely like Mike Tyson. When you had a champion that openly admits prior to the Tyson fight that it, I think fear's a good thing. I think it's okay to be afraid. I get what you're saying, but why in the world are you sitting here telling the world that you're afraid of this man before you walk down to the ring to fight him?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Darren Till, for example, I appreciated how brutally honest he was with the way that he after this last fight here when he fought Gastelum. I appreciated the fact that he admitted that he was afraid going out there because the way he had lost to Mazadov was just so vicious. He didn't want to go out there and get knocked out again. He didn't want to have a poor showing. He wanted to win. And, he was fighting a very, very dangerous fight. So I appreciate the fact that that was a hard walk for him and that he shared that. But if he was the champion, there's no way he should be walking out there talking he's afraid. Keep that to yourself.
Right. That's absolutely the way you need to. It's almost like at behind the scenes they did with UFC that one time, and the fighters were... remember, it was Tito Ortiz or someone puking, and it was Tito Ortiz coming out.
Yeah.
But he never showed it. And even now, Tito never shows fear. Even if he's walking into a fight that he's probably not going to win, he's always going out there trying.
Well, speaking of that, so, he's got this big thing coming up with what's his name from WWE?
Yes, Alberto El Patron.
El Patron. Well, that right there, I mean, what in the heck is that? However, what I did find interesting was I saw a little blurb where Tito would be open to fighting Cain Velasquez at light heavyweight. And I thought, and I didn't bother to read the article, so it was probably clickbait. It was probably, he'd be open to a pro wrestling match with him in WWE or something like that. But just the fact that there was actually a headline where Tito's actually talking about a guy that's actually still, if he wanted to be, could still be a very relative fighter. I thought, that would actually be a really good match, I think. Because both guys are good on the ground. Both guys got great cardio. The edge goes to Cain simply because of striking. Because Tito's like Brock Lesnar. He doesn't like to get hit. I know he has, but he doesn't like to get hit. And I think that would be his downfall.
I think it would actually be a terrific fight. If Cain Velasquez wouldn't get hurt. That was the bad thing. Like I was telling you, I think maybe last week. He was always injured in the UFC. And he could have probably... You can't say he's even the pound-for-pound best. He could have been, maybe.
I don't see how you make the argument.
But you can't... It's really, people try to. And it's hard. I don't know how you make it. But he could have... Because, he was beating a lot of good guys. And he always had a gas tank, unlike a lot of heavyweights. But he was always injury-prone. He goes to WWE, which is a... it's a scripted sport, and here he is already on the injury shelf. He's coming with prior injuries, so now they're taking care of his knee. And I was like, why did you even show up? Why didn't you wait, get the knee fixed, and then show up?
Well, I think that with that, sending him over for the crown jewel with Brock Lesnar was going to help them in that market and advance, you know what I'm saying? Because let him get healed. I just don't see Brock squashing him in a match and then them not, bringing that back in there. Because now they're going to be doing the whole, now it's 1-1. Brock's 1-1 and Kane's 1-1. So now here's the rubber match.
Right.
But I did think it was interesting, that Tito threw his name out there as a potential matchup. Because now I would be interested in seeing that. Because, I understand Tito is at a point now where Tito's at an age right now, he's kind of like, you've talked to in the past about a Masters League and about having it, to where these guys are fighting guys more their age and stuff. Like, you think about when Shogun fought Dan Henderson. Now, I know that there's a bit of an age difference there between the two, but however, as far as time in the sport and, the experience level and stuff like that, you're really fighting two comparably placed guys. You know what I'm saying? And it showed. And when you've put these two guys in there now with people considerably younger than them, the up and comings, you see a difference. I know Shogun just had a decent showing against his last opponent. Where it ended, of course, in a draw, but be it here nor there. I think when you match these guys up with, if Tito's fighting somebody more in his age demographic, I think he's bound to do better. You put Tito Ortiz in there, man, against a 23-year-old that's never had gold and getting his first taste of real money. Tito's not fighting the same passion that kid is. He's just not. It's like, it's like Conor McGregor. How does Conor McGregor come back and truly say he's got a passion for this? Conor's always going to probably enjoy fighting. He enjoys it. You know what I'm saying? He's a scrapper. But the reality is Conor hasn't had the true fire. The reason he had the fire, man, is because it was either you were going to do that, man, or you were going to be a bum. And that was the only thing he had going for him. And so he made the best of it, But now he's not hurting at all. He's made a lot of money in fighting. He's made a lot of money in liquor. And he's got his clothing line. I don't know how that's doing. But it is not like Conor McGregor needs to come back and, leave it all in the ring now. For what?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, dude, it's like saying, you climb to Mount Everest and go, this just ain't high enough. I got to keep going. It's like, dude, you're at the top, man.
Right. Now, just real quick with Tito, the only thing that I've seen with Tito is he said that after he beats Alberto, he wants to go and challenge Ryan Bader for the heavyweight championship in Bellator.
Yeah.
And that way, that was set up, since Ryan Bader lost to Tito back in UFC, it actually could set up, and I could see Bader wanting to get one back.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see him giving Ortiz an opportunity to getting one back on him.
Sure, and I'd be interested in seeing that.
Yeah, I think it would be. I think it would be a okay card or a good match right there. And then finally going in, and then we'll go over to. Now we're going over to Conor McGregor. January, there's the talk now of him fighting Cowboy Cerrone. It is going to now looks like
they said it's the fight now is going to take that a fight's going to take a UFC event's going to take place in February, not January. And there's been no talk of Conor.
Really?
Well, that's the latest little blurb I saw. Again,
Okay, the last one I saw was.
And it needs to be Cowboy. It needs to be Cowboy. Conor needs to fight somebody that's going to. But that's a dangerous fight, man.
Right.
Because that's
one of them that's his best option. I think it'd be a good fight. I think it's going to be a best option, but it's an extremely dangerous option. So
we're really reaching a point where name a good fight for Conor, because I can't think of one.
No, he would lose to Tony Ferguson, and I would imagine Cowboy's bound to go in there as a favorite.
He'd lose to Tony Ferguson.
He would definitely lose to Khabib again.
He goes in there with a rematch with Khabib. We get more of the same. Unless he just throws that Jose Aldo miracle punch where he knocks him out quickly. I don't see it.
What Conor did, I don't think you. Well, I wonder how many people he can really get under their skin, because he made Jose lose complete control, and he threw everything out the window. So he went running across the ring like he wouldn't normally do. But then when he tried to get under Khabib's skin, he just fired him up, and he made him want to kill him. Yeah. So when you do that type of trash talk, it's either going to go one route. It's either you're going to fire them up or you're going to get in their head. And I don't think he's going to get in Cowboy's head. So in turn, what he needs to do is be polite and respectful. And it would probably throw Cowboy off a little bit, because it's not going to fire him. He'll fire it up because he wants to beat Conor McGregor. He'll be fired up because he wants the money. But.
So, talking about money fights, let's talk the results of Covington-Usman. Who do you want to win that fight?
Colby, I think, would be a better, because I would love to see him and Jorge fight. I think you're going to have a better sell.
That's the fight I want to see.
Usman is a terrific fighter, but he don't sell fights. I don't think like Colby Covington will sell.
He doesn't. So, okay, talking about money fights still, Nick Diaz is now running around here hollering he's the BMF. And the fight that should be for the BMF is him and Jorge, not Jorge and Nate.
Right.
It should have been him. And it's like, well, that's all fine and dandy, and I think Masvidal's fine to fight him too. I think he'll fight him. I just, the problem is the Diaz brothers are in such a demand, and they're in a position where it's like, they create some buzz and get people excited. Like, people, look at the excitement that the Masvidal-Nate Diaz fight created, man. I mean, that was amazing. That was a lot of fun. But when's the next time we're going to see Nate now? Because let me tell you something, Nate's not going to just take, just any fight. You know what I'm saying? It's just like when he fought Conor. He's like, man, he's like, I'm fighting Conor McGregor. He beat Conor McGregor. And then they're offering him, prelim guys. And it's kind of like, well, who are they going to fight now? Justin Gaethje? don't know. You know, I mean, who would they offer him up now? You know, obviously, I think Nate would need a. You know, I know Jorge and him have talked about running it back again and, you know, having a rematch, and that would be great too. I don't think UFC's interested in doing that right now. I think UFC wants Jorge Masvidal to stand in front of the winner of Covington Usman.
Now, I think if I was management for Jorge, I would tell him, you take the title shot. Because you never know when Jorge's going to... Because if you really look at his track record, he was a track record of like the Diaz brothers, which was he would win some, he would lose some, he would win some. Now he's on a hot streak.
Roll with it.
If he don't take the shot now, he might not get another shot.
That's true.
So in turn, I would rather see him fight for the belt, and I would rather see it be Covington. I was listening to Luke Thomas, and he was saying that he thought Nick Diaz sounded like there was something off, like he had maybe punch drunk, maybe drugs or alcohol. He didn't know. He was just, when you listen to his talk. But when I listen to Nick, it's like listening to Nate. They both always have been that type. That's their speech pattern, and I don't know what exactly he was hearing that I wasn't, but I think it would definitely be big. I don't know if it could be as big as the Nate Diaz Jorge fight.
I think you put a Diaz brother in front of Jorge Masvidal, I think that's cash money. Now, I can't say you keep going to the well. You know, we don't want to see, 6 bouts between these guys, but I definitely think, whether it be Nate Diaz with a rematch or Nick Diaz challenging, I think that's cash money. I stand with that.
It's definitely cash. I'm not saying it, but I'm saying that out of the two, who would people be going all foaming at the mouth for? And I think Nate Diaz probably might win it right now just because he's sometimes in the spotlight a little bit more than Nick. But Nick, you said, the Diaz brothers have a tremendous following. We watched them just like the Frank Shamrock, just because Nick threw the middle finger up at Shamrock, and I've got to see that. I want to see him, get punched in the face just for being so disrespectful to Frank Shamrock, and talk about a terrific fight. And then when he fought Paul Daly, he's a great fighter, and it's just one of them guys, just like Nate. And I think that one of the big things is because they can put up their middle finger to the system. Whoever's in control, whoever the promoter, they don't care. They just do what they want. And I think that endears to a lot of people, because I think a lot of people want to be like that, where they can just say, hey, screw you, I'm going home.
Listen, let's be real here for a second. At the end of the day, Nate Diaz talked his way into 2 of his biggest fights. Seriously. I can't remember who it was he beat when he got on the mic and he ran down Conor and said, I'm the money fight, this, that, and the other. Right?
Right.
So he pretty much called Conor McGregor out and told him, hey man, you're doing my shtick. I'm the fight. And damn if he didn't make good on it. And then of course, he beats Pettis. And he's in there talking about wanting to have a BMF title, which gets the place going nuts. And he says the only person he sees right now that's worth fighting it for is Jorge Masvidal. He says, let's fight for the BMF title. That becomes a monster of its own. And now that's a thing. And now you got the women wanting to be BMFs.
I saw that.
Yeah, so it's like, now. And I mean, that title, man, holy crap, that title got so much attention in the way it was revered. Now you got to ask yourself, is Jorge going to defend it? But I mean, again, that's not necessarily a title I see where you start having a ranking system. Okay, Brian, 3 more wins, and you're going to get a shot at the BMF title, because that's not really something rankings can produce. A BMF is somebody that actually lives it. You know what I'm saying? Walks the walk.
And there's only very few wrestlers, but very few UFC fighters like the Diaz brothers, like Jorge, who are that. You could put like a Cowboy Cerrone in there, possibly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see him being that. But then you really start having to look because you don't want to go, well, hey, Ben Askren, he's a BMF. Well, yeah, he's a great wrestler, but he's not the BMF. No. You know? But yeah, I think Nick Diaz, Jorge, it's going to wind up being Colby Covington or Usman versus Jorge.
Hopefully it's Covington versus Jorge because I think that's the next big fight.
Right.
And I think, man, you know, they need to have it somewhere, man, where other than New York, because that one's there's gonna be carnage with that one.
Oh yeah, they need to have a big spot. I think though with that rest of the card, I hope to see Amanda Nunes win. I like to see her continue on, and then. You know, because Max Holloway went up in weight and he lost, I think it was Brian Ortega, that's what sits in my head, you know. And but I would like to see him. I think he's going to have a good fight with Alexander Volkov.
Yeah.
I do expect that to be a decent fight.
I think it's a good card coming up.
So. It's going to be an excellent card. And then I guess the final thing when it comes to boxing and MMA, Floyd Mayweather posted a picture with Dana White, and he said they've got a big announcement coming soon.
2020.
And if I was a bet man, it's going to be Zuffa Boxing. He's going to team up with Floyd Mayweather with TMT, and they can start working on the promotion. Because there was rumor that Zuffa was looking at buying Premier Boxing, PCB, Premier Championship Boxing. And I could actually see maybe a deal like that going through, and then Zuffa teaming up with Money Mayweather, and then they move forward like that. Now, where they're going to go would be definitely interesting because I've been thinking about like with the big fights with pay-per-view down because of streaming services, and these guys were signing these really, really big contracts. Well, they used to could sign big contracts if they're getting like pay-per-view buy rates, but now when you're doing like a UFC Fight Pass or a DAZN, I wonder how it's going to play out. I just can't see someone like a Canelo, someone coming up from who's not Canelo stature yet, going, hey, I want Canelo money. You know, that means they're going to have to jack the price of DAZN. Or something's going to have to happen, you know. Or they're going to have to start putting some ads on there. Like, you know.
Yeah. It's hard to say, man. You know, who knows what the future of that stuff is. I mean, with, like you said, with the streaming services and whatnot, I think the days of pay-per-view are starting to, I mean, I think we're on the cusp of that soon going to be gone. Now, I have no reason to believe that there's still not going to be fights that they make us pay for. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know that you'll ever be able to say, all right, well, I paid for a monthly subscription to DAZN, and so I'm getting all the fights now. Any of the pay-per-view fights, like how WWE does with their service, you know, you'll never see the UFC offer their fights on their Fight Pass like WWE does. Right now, you're not. Maybe. But you never know what's going to happen with the idea. Because, you know, it's like I said in the past, I've never, there was a lot of things a lot of forward thinking. I remember Bill Gates said in 93, he said, I want everyone to have a computer in their hand. I said, that's the dumbest idea because we got laptops and now we all got cell phones in our hands with these big processors, and they're pretty much computers in your hand. Yeah. And so in turn, if you're not forward thinking, so when I hear like UFC going like to ESPN Plus being just, hey, this is where you got to do the pay-per-view from, well, it makes me go, interesting that, you know, how maybe they know more about it than I do. Sure. Well, obviously they do. Well, yeah, right. I would like to think that they're doing their homework. So. Yeah. All right. So now we're going to roll into the professional wrestling side of things. Now, the two shows that I've watched this week was AEW, and I watched NWA Power.
let's start. Did you watch? Which one did you watch out of the two? Did you watch?
So I watched NWA Power. I have not watched AEW yet.
The only thing I'm going to say about AEW Power or AEW is I like their look. I think they look like a big promotion. But this week, and I don't remember it on their pay-per-view, and I don't remember on other things, but the mic was really bad. You could barely hear Jim Ross, Tony Schiavone, and Excalibur speaking. So you could hear the audience real loud, but you could barely hear Jim Ross. And that really bothered me as I was sitting there because I'm watching it and I'm wanting to have the story told to me also.
Well, it's funny you mentioned mic work there with that because I won't mention the wrestler who I was watching speak about this, but one of the things that he said when he watched NWA Power that he kind of said was kind of they need to improve on was that he said that there was a few times that he heard the match being called. Like, so you're watching it and you hear him calling, the wrestlers calling the next move. And, you know, that's obviously that's kind of a taboo thing. I mean, you know, yes, we understand that it's scripted and this, that, and the other, but in the same token, that's you don't want to see those guys calling it. You know what I'm saying? You want to see it be a fluid motion as they go.
Right.
So
when they went to WWE, I remember Vince McMahon was from what I read, he was telling all the wrestlers like you've got to watch what you say in the ring because now HD's cameras will be picking up your mouth movements and stuff a lot better than a regular television thing. But this week, and I don't remember. I mean, I've watched a week or two of AEW, and I never heard them so bad. It was really, like I said. But what was interesting is this goes for both NWA Power and AWA or AEW, and I was watching it with the guys at work, and both of them had guys laughing, and they were excited about it. And like Orange Cassidy, you know which one he is?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. When he came out, and his gimmick, and I know it gets trashed
it's
much.
Love or hate.
Correct.
Love or hate with him.
Correct. And I've kind of loved the character just because it's so weird to me. I don't know why I'm even into it. And maybe it's because the fans are into it. I get pulled into it.
Well, all right, so let's talk about that. You know, you got Orange Cassidy over here in AEW, but then you got the question mark over in NWA. And that guy's like, man, the roof comes off the place when he comes out.
Yes.
And the one guy, when he did his little bullhorn throat jab, that guy, man, sold him.
Ricky Starks.
No, it wasn't Ricky Starks. I think it was the guy before him that the question mark
Okay.
gave. Man, that question mark gave him the jab. And that dude, man, left his feet and went up airborne. And, I mean, but the place goes nuts for him. Well, what is it about those two guys that's getting over with the crowd? I think it's like PCO and Ring of Honor. You know, they're different. And the thing about it is, man, it's not them walking out in just black tights and bald heads and goatees or long dripping, greasy looking hair. You know, everybody and their brother's going for that look. You know, these guys are actually coming out into and they're different. You know, the question mark is a masked wrestler, and he's not from Mexico. You know, a lot of your Latino wrestlers and whatnot still wear masks, but you don't see a lot of the guys here stateside. You know, I want to see somebody come back with face paint. And I ain't talking about this crap that they're doing in WWE with old
Luke Gallows.
Yeah, I don't want to see that garbage. I want to see true, like, Ultimate Warrior, Sting, Muda, Great Kabuki kind of paint. You know what I'm saying? Missing Link kind of stuff. That's an element, man, that has... And it, just like the Road Warriors, man, their face paint... Well, I don't want to say it told a story. I don't want to say that they were telling a story, but they weren't. But But like, for example, I still remember Sting's face paint when he beat Flair for the title the first time. He was wearing, the American flag face paint, Ultimate Warrior, he always kind of color coordinated, whatever his look was going to be for a particular event. Road Warriors, that their face paint absolutely added to their mystique.
Right.
It made them look even meaner. And I think there's something to be said for that. I'd like to see that come back, but like masked wrestlers, you don't see that a whole lot anymore.
When he came out, when the question mark came out this week on Power, that place popped. It was like Orange Cassidy. When I heard, I went, oh my God. And the first thing I thought was, and I guess he's going to be unmasked during this at some point because someone made some comment, and I can't remember where I was listening to it, and they said, if you're at the tapings and you know who it was, don't make any announcements. So that's how, and I cannot remember who it was, and I have not looked up any spoilers for this show because I love this show.
I think I know who it is.
I'm pretty confident it is too.
But I want it to play out. I don't want to know until they're ready to tell me. Right. I don't want to know because like you said, I'm enjoying the ride.
But I would prefer, had I seen that, I thought, whoever it is, I can't imagine them taking their mask off, getting the same reaction.
No.
I would keep under that hood, and I would ride that thing till the end. Because when he came out and that place popped, I got excited. The people I was sitting there with laughing, they popped.
They got excited. They had fun with it.
Yeah.
That's right.
And then when he got over on the mic and said karate, and he extended it out, and if you go to the NWA store, it was, you see the shirt, you see him say karate. That's the first time I saw him say it. And then the next day I looked on the store and they had a red question mark t-shirt and underneath it said karate. I saw people making comments on their Facebook, on their Twitter feed and their Facebook feed with karate on there. That's amazing to me. And it is interesting how you get people over. It reminds me of DDP. Remember when he did the whole digging in trash and then he started selling his gear and people were wearing his old gear to the ring?
Yeah.
And he came back and I'm into him.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then during the event with the question mark, they're like, who is this guy? His tights don't even fit him. They're all baggy and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I don't know why, but I'm into the question mark.
The thing about it is just like with Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy is a completely different character than what people have seen. You got some people, like I said, that absolutely hate him. They say, oh, he's an embarrassment to wrestle. But when he actually does do a moment where he gives some spots, that dude's pretty agile to keep his hands in his pockets and doing all the little flips and stuff that he does. You know what I'm saying?
It takes some talent to
jump out. It does absolutely take some talent, and he's a gimmick character. You know what I'm saying? This is not like he's going to headline WrestleMania in his current gimmick. But that's what wrestling needs, though. Wrestling needs guys like Orange Cassidy. They need guys like the question mark, but they need guys that have you talking, and they need guys that make it fun for you.
Right.
Yes, you're going to have your Nick Aldis, okay, and your Tim Storms, and you're going to have your, Cody Rhodes and your Chris Jerichos that are going to be like, these guys are the legit, they're the ones competing for the titles. These are your, your showstoppers. These are the guys that main event, okay. But you've got to have people, man, that make you want to tune in, make you want to have fun. Old Boogie Woogie, man, we've talked about him for years. One of the things about Boogie is Boogie could come out there, man, and give Dusty Rhodes back up, or Dusty Rhodes could be out there, man, fighting Paul Jones. It didn't matter. You know what I'm saying? But Boogie was always fun, no matter what capacity they put him in.
Right.
And that was one of the strengths. Is that you need just as strong of a mid-card lineup as you do your upper card. You know what I'm saying? And you gotta have somebody, man, to give these people something to talk about.
Right. So have you watched, like, and I'll just say, I have not watched WWE, and I know tonight's Survivor Series, and I have zero interest in watching it. It's amazing to me that what's brought me back to professional wrestling is a brand that everyone said was dead.
Yes.
In the NWA.
Yes.
That Ring of Honor, I should back up a little bit. Ring of Honor kept me there.
Yeah.
NWA has made me go at 6:05. Now, of course, this week they brought it up. I didn't get to watch it live. They brought it on. They put it on to YouTube, and then they immediately took it down. So I had to watch it at like 7:30 or something like it. But that's not the thing. The thing is, NWA brought me back too, and it's amazing. Where WWE, nothing they're doing right now, and I know they've got some talented workers over there. I can't say that they're hot shot in NXT to fight AEW.
Well, they have to.
Yes, they're having to.
Because at the end of the day, man, they thought they were just going to throw and I don't want to devalue NXT, because you and I have talked before. NXT is probably the best product they had going as far as the overall product itself. From the storytelling to the actual talent that they had, man. NXT's top shelf. But that being said, there, man, that WWE had also for a long time made it very clear that NXT was their Bush League. You get called up to Raw, you get called up to SmackDown. You know what I'm saying? NXT is not. NXT is where you may start, but NXT is not where you're going to finish.
Right, you're not getting called up.
You're not getting called up to NXT. NXT is like your minor league. You know what I'm saying? Like, you earn your stripes down here in NXT, and then we'll bring you up to the big show.
Right.
And the problem is, though, man, is that they went out here and they put NXT up against AEW, and the problem is AEW has enough veterans to make you sit here and go, hey, I know who that guy is. I know who that guy is. And then they have enough young talent that they're spreading that out, but they've also got a financial backer that's able to give them the ability to have some teeth. And
it looks clean. It's a good, clean production product.
Yeah, absolutely.
The one thing that if I had to, that differentiates the promotions against the WWE, and the WWE is going to have to, they're going to have to end the policy. Scripted promos. There is nothing about, there's absolutely no way someone in WWE would have wrote karate for the question mark to go over there and say.
Never. Okay? There's no way somebody in the WWE would have wrote for Chris Jericho to go, a little bit of the bubbly, or Le Champion.
Right.
This guy's, man, if he was going out there, man, saying what they wanted him to say, scripted, you would have never got what you're getting with him right now.
And I think that's why you're getting better. People are talking about the AEW and NWA product. Now, NXT and WWE, they're going to have, or you have to just say WWE. I mean, NXT has a third brand, like a program, like Raw, SmackDown, NXT. But they're going to have to get rid of the scripted promos. I really think, I think bullet points is fine, but NWA does it right in the aspect of, and I know AEW does it very little, but when you have Dave Marquez, or you have the other guy, Joe Gallo, or even Cornette, and we'll get to Cornette in a minute, but they help guide the guys. And Billy Corgan was on a radio show, and he said that he's told him, he said, you go out there and you say whatever you want. If you talk for 8 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever, if they're firing the crowd up, you let them go. We do not stop them. But he's also told the announcers who's standing there, they said if they start going off track and the place isn't really feeling it, you can cut it right there. Now that is real. That is good. And that's how you're going to get emotion brought in. You're going to get people connected. You can get people fired up. And I love that style. And that's why I say,
again, one of the things about pro wrestling that has always been is mic time. You know, when Bill Goldberg started his thing with WCW, and he started catching fire, you know what I'm saying, and people getting into him. The big, let's hold on to let's see what happens here moment was when he got a mic put in front of his face. Because now at this point now, you know, he's got the absolute opportunity now to go from, hey man, I'm really into this guy, to, man, he sounds like an idiot, I don't like him at all.
Right.
All right? You know, he had the opportunity to do that. That brings back the question of, you know, having managers. You know, you got Tully Blanchard over in AEW. And you just, you know, sometimes you need to have somebody to talk on the mic for you. You know what I'm saying? Listen, at the end of the day, man, the Midnight Express, I don't care which version of the Midnight Express you talk about. At no point was Bobby Eaton ever having to talk on the mic. Stan Lane didn't have to talk. Jim Cornette did all the talking for those guys. Those guys just had to go in there, man, and deliver a top shelf match. And that's exactly what we got. Cornette gave the hype. They went in there and delivered.
Right. And I'm total agreeance. You know, I think
anybody that got put with Gary Hart, never had to worry about Bobby Heenan.
How they've not brought back managers is really a surprise to me.
God, who else, man? I mean, just go down the list.
Because sometimes connecting someone to a manager can give them a feeling of people, like, you know, like give them a little rub. Like Bobby Heenan was probably the best that I know of. Like when you were with Bobby Heenan, when you were with Classy Freddie Blassie or Captain Lou Albano, they gave you a little bit more of a rub because they came from an old school, that era, and, you know, now they're just now here was Classy Freddie Blassie, who was a hot wrestler back over in San Francisco, California area. He's over in New York now as the manager, you know, Luscious Johnny Valiant. Yeah. So in turn,
absolutely,
I would put them in. Now, granted, there are managers like Jimmy Hart, like Jim Cornette, who just did talk and weren't wrestlers, I guess, per se, but they were just the managers, and they're really good too. You know.
Take James J. Dillon.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, here's a guy, again, amazing, because, you know, you take any of the horsemen and put them on the mic. Now, obviously, as we start getting later into the deeper rosters, I mean, I realize you had guys like Chris Benoit, and you had guys didn't necessarily have the same mic skills that they had on the out, but the early inception, when you had, you know, let's be honest here, Lex Luger was never a wizard on the mic, right? But you know what? That's okay, because you had James J. Dillon, and Dillon could get what needed to be said. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? He could get the high points of what needed to be put out there to forward the angle, and then Luger could talk about what great shape he's in, and, you know, he's going to do this, going to do that. And but you know, you had James J. Dillon, man, who for all intent and purposes, man, it's like you already had guys that could work the mic like nobody's business, but yet there he was. You know, and I mean, of course, you know, when you talk about the original Four Horsemen, man, I mean, you're talking about that's absolute legacy right there. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that you've never seen. It's just like Road Warriors. You've never seen a tag team like the Road Warriors, and you won't see a tag team like the Road Warriors ever again.
No,
you won't. You know, the Road Warriors were phenoms. I mean, but you talk about being an attraction. You know, you take a guy like Andre the Giant. You know, now, you know, you've had guys come through that were big fellas like him, but, you know, they don't draw people like he used to. Probably the closest thing to an attraction that WWE has right now is Brock Lesnar.
And it's the way they book him, because he's not on television every week.
He's not on television every week. People know he's legit. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's a former UFC heavyweight champion. And they let Paul Heyman do all his talking.
Right.
Yeah, Brock can get on there, man, make threats and, you know, this, that, and the other. That's fine. But why does Brock need to say anything? He's like the Midnight Express, man. Let Paul Heyman do all the talking. Paul Heyman's going to cause people to hate enough. And he's going to say it in a very eloquent way. All Brock's got to do, man, is go in there and be the muscle.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So.
Right. Oh, absolutely. So I guess the big final thing that we'll talk about real quick, and we won't drag this one out too long, is Jim Cornette resigned from the NWA because of a comment he made during the Nick Aldis and Trevor Murdoch match.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is, this comment has overshadowed once again, another terrific show by the NWA. I think it was a wise thing that they went on and cut ties with him. On one hand, because I don't want to see the show get overshadowed by something. I mean, you could have an easy debate, a long debate with people about what's freedom, what your freedom of speech, and is this a joke? Is this what was meant? And you can analyze it and things of that nature. But you told me earlier, they're growing a business.
Right.
They cannot sit here and maybe in 15 years, they could have an argument. And I don't even think in that 15 years they're going to want to have an argument like this.
Let's be honest here. WWE severed ties with Hulk Hogan for how long over comments he made that weren't even made on their show, on their programming.
Right.
That honestly were of course, I think more offensive than what Cornette said. But nonetheless, they severed ties with him for a while. He sat on the shelf, but he's back now. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the initial blowback that was out there, same thing with it. People are going to forget what Cornette said. And so to say that he, and those that were really so offended and jumping up and down, this, that, and the other, eventually those people are going to subside and this, that, and the other. And, Cornette may one day show his face again on NWA programming.
Right. So, and I'm in agreement with you. I mean, you can never say never.
Right.
But at this moment, at this juncture, the company's got to look out. And now, hopefully, whatever they've set up, they've claimed to put all these safety nets and safeguards to make sure something like this never happens. Because when you have a show that was taped weeks ago and it's been sitting in the can, and only Jim Cornette's head's on the chopping block, it makes you question, like, well, what about all the whoever allowed this to go through, whoever edited this? Not that I want to see anyone get fired, because if it's an honest mistake, it's an honest mistake. Sometimes you got to apologize and be able to, hey, it was a slip of the tongue. It wasn't, it's a different error. I don't know. I'm not going to try to speak for Jim Cornette or try to apologize for him, but.
Well, regardless of internally who may have let that slip past them in post-production, at the end of the day, Jim Cornette's the one that has to own the comment. And at the end of the day, that's why they chose to remove him.
Right.
Or he chose to resign. And well, look, the other thing about it too is NWA could have came at him and been like, we're going to fire you, blah, blah. I mean, I don't know what conversation they had, but he chose to resign. He left on his terms, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, so Cornette owned it, and he stepped out. Like I said, fast forward a couple of years, hell, fast forward 6 months from now, who knows? And you may see him again. But I do think that the NWA has a lot of positive momentum going for them. They are trying to they're growing the business. They're bringing the fans in. They want as many eyes on the product as they can, and what they don't want to do is they don't want to start creating controversy and start getting labeled something they're not.
Absolutely. And, once again, it was another terrific show.
Right.
But it got overshadowed by something said that was extremely stupid.
Right.
In the end of the day. So, but out of all the shows that I watched this week, I'm going to have to go with NWA was my favorite show. It's going to be hard to beat NWA just because I love that they do episodic television.
Well, real quick, while you're talking about that, did you see where PCO and Marty Scurll made their way to the finals for the number one contender to challenge Ruiz? So PCO fought Marty Scurll. It was a really good match. It was really good, and I mean, like, Villain Enterprises went after old PCO. And
they turned on PCO.
Yes and no. Marty Scurll said, hey, let's keep this a clean match. And the minute the referee turned his back, he put the umbrella upside PCO's head. And Brody got involved. Flip Gordon got involved. But then when the match was over, I mean, they threw everything but the kitchen sink at PCO. When the match was over, PCO's the one that won. Villain Enterprises stood there united, and Marty Scurll told me, he said, if anybody deserves it, it's you. And they all raised. I mean, I was really concerned because I love Villain Enterprises. And, they're probably my favorite they're definitely one of my favorites there. I've got several favorites there in Ring of Honor, but, I was really concerned. I didn't want to see PCO get, kicked out of the group because it's kind of like I think that's kind of where he belongs. And
right.
So it was really neat. But, yeah, they had a really good match. And, now they've set it up, PCO to take on Ruiz for the title.
That's going to be a great match.
That's going to be really good. And I'm really curious to see what they're going to do with Ruiz because he was involved in a tag team match with, who's their television champ? His name, I can see this guy's face, but it's escaping me.
Oh, yeah, I know you're talking about, yes.
Taylor?
Right.
Anyways, but he's kind of a heel. And Ruiz, has been kind of the baby face. And they took on Matt Taven and now I can't think of who Matt Taven's partner was. Oh, Dalton
Castle?
Dalton Castle.
Yeah.
The Matt Taven and Dalton Castle teamed up against Ruiz and
Shane Taylor's the current.
Shane Taylor, yeah, there you go. Thank you. And they teamed up against each other. And, it was funny because Ruiz kind of had some heel moments to him. I really enjoy Matt Taven. I really enjoy Matt Taven a lot. And I think there's a fluidness to him. And I think that he's got kind of a Chris Jericho feel at times to where he's got some cool moments like where some of the stuff he says and stuff like that. And I think he was a good champ. So
right. Ring of Honor, Billy Corgan was on Busted Open this past week. And he took, I don't want to say he takes shots at AEW, but whenever you hear him talk, he's talked about AEW money. And he's like how that economy isn't real within the wrestling industry because you have Tony Khan has a lot of money, so he's able to give them a lot of money. Wrestlers, give them good contracts, where a lot of these companies can't give them the big contracts. But what he said this past week, and it sounded it was funny, but he goes, AEW made a tremendous mistake by not keeping relationships with New Japan and Ring of Honor and all these other group organizations because he said, just they're not working together. They're keeping, and he's like, I understand why they're doing it, but he said here in the NWA we've had some, because he was talking about his new show, The Squared Circle, where it offers independent wrestlers to come in and speak to try to get a contract for the NWA. But he said that with what's happened is he would allow Matt Riddle. Let's say WWE goes, hey, we want to send Matt Riddle down and squash a wrestler. He's like, we're like old Georgia Championship Wrestling, where that's how they used to do it, where like these big promoters would just send someone over to the studio, they would get on national television, and then they would just go back to whatever promotion they came from. I would love to see Ring of Honor and stuff start sending people down there just to do one match. Hey, send the Briscoes down.
So Colt Cabana was on Ring of Honor TV this week.
Right, he's their announcer, right?
No, he was wrestling.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. He was wrestling.
Was he carrying the national championship
No,
belt?
he didn't have the national championship belt, but, Colt was still out there. So I definitely think there's still a relationship there between the NWA and Ring of Honor. Nick Aldis has been on Ring of Honor, obviously, in the past.
Right.
Yeah, man, I mean, there's some good stuff going on right now in Ring of Honor as well.
And I just can't imagine that AEW wouldn't be open to working with Ring of Honor. So Villain Enterprise, since Marty Scurll, Flip Gordon, all these folks are their friends. Get them on television. Hey, look what WWE's doing. They're using them as a farm league. Ring of Honor is a great promotion. If you go down the list of all their of people who've been there, just TNA's Impact Wrestling.
Well, you're absolutely true. You go down the Ring of Honor list
right.
and look at the current WWE roster, and how many of those guys came from Ring of Honor?
Right. And then,
absolutely.
And then you could look at Impact, and a lot of people came from Impact. So instead of trying to just cherry pick them and kill them off, help them, let them breathe. Bring them up. Because as long as there's places to go, Randy Orton, as Tony Khan told Randy Orton, he's like, how many times did you say AEW when you were in your contract negotiations with the WWE? And that is the honest to God truth. If there was no AEW, WWE would have said, here's the contract, take it or leave it. Go to New Japan if you want, because who wants to go over? But now, hell, New Japan's now coming here.
Coming to the States.
Hey, terrific. Let the NWA title get defended in there.
That's right.
Let the AEW title.
Bring New Japan to the studio.
Absolutely.
That's right.
It's such a wonderful
It's
time.
a win-win situation for everybody.
I can't say enough, but mixed martial arts, UFC, Bellator, there's stuff that I'm loving. Boxing, there's stuff that I'm loving. In pro wrestling, there's stuff that I'm loving. It's firing on all cylinders, and I hope they can continue this on throughout.
No, it's a good time right now to be a fan of each of these sports because there's a lot of personalities out there right now that's giving us reason to watch.
Absolutely. So, all right. So we've reached that hour point. We're a little bit over. Just one final thing. Well, if you want to follow us, you can follow us at Potato Shot PC on Twitter and subscribe to us on SoundCloud for all the updated podcasts and wherever you can get your other podcasts, wherever you want to listen to us at. You have anything else to say?
Nope, that's it.
All right. Thanks for listening. Till next time. Later.